Welcome to the Path to Pleasure, the show where we will explore the journey of those who have made a career in the adult industry. My name is Tonja.
I'm Blaize.
Today we are going to have fun and talk about our personal journey. Blaze,
Yes, dear.
let's hear your story. So, how long have you been doing this to start off?
On the calendar, I believe it was May 16th of last year that I had my first foot party. Oh yeah, of 2022. It was May 16th of 2022. And I went to my first foot party at Texas Foot Parties. And I met the most amazing people, and I was hooked from then on. After I went to my first foot party, I made some amazing connections with a bunch of different models, and I had the best time. And I thought, people do this and get paid too? Like, that didn't make any sense to me.
Sorry to interrupt, but what do you get paid to do?
People pay to come to see you, and then they pay a certain price for 10 minutes, 5 minutes, or 10 minutes. And then they get that time with that model. It's usually rubbing their feet, tickling their feet. They're sucking on their feet, massaging. There's a lot of trampling that goes on. Yes, my first trampling that I saw, because I had no knowledge about it whatsoever.
What? Trampling.
Yes, trampling.
Trampling.
It's
Heels,
actually quite
no
popular.
heels.
Whatever they choose.
Oh my
You can
goodness.
do with heels, without heels, barefoot,
Oh.
different, whatever shoes that they pick.
The venues, is it always different?
Yeah, it just kind of depends on the company that's putting on the parties. It depends on what city they're in.
Yeah. This is a huge, kind of underground, fetish community.
Yeah.
It's not well known. I don't think, most people would ever guess that foot fetish is a huge community of
Massive.
people. And everybody wants to be hush hush about it. But when you're in, you're in.
Yes. I had no clue. My husband started telling me, I'm trying to think, probably in 2019. He's like, babe, you have got beautiful feet.
You do, actually.
You should go try this. And I thought, oh, you are crazy. Like, who wants to see my feet? That doesn't make any sense. He's like, they're the way that they feel, like all these different things that he was telling me. And I thought, this is not even a world that I know, which is like, most people don't know that world.
Yeah.
So I did some research from there and tumbled down that rabbit hole. And finally in 2022, I went to him. I saw advertisement, screenshot it, and I sent it to my husband. I was like, I'm going to do it. And he was like, oh, that's amazing. Like, finally. Because he's like, man, you've got such sexy feet. Like, you should do something about this. So I did that. Truthfully, I didn't realize it was as much work as it is, which I think most people jump in making the assumption. Because I have my friends like, oh, I need to make some money fast. Like, it's like, yeah, that doesn't work that way.
It's promotion. It's finding the people that are hidden, but they want to see you. They want to know you.
They want to worship you. And a lot of gentlemen with feet fetish, they're very passive, not submissive, but passive.
Yeah.
And so they don't want to speak out a lot. And so this gives them a very safe environment to come to. And from the foot parties, I just transitioned into modeling.
Yeah.
And it has gone really well.
And that's fantastic. I love it. I love your story. You've met the right people, the right group.
Yeah. I don't know that I've met the right people or the right group. I've met the right people to make my own group.
Yes.
And so I'm kind of weeding through things and figuring out, because everybody has something that they bring to the table.
Yes.
And there's so many amazing women out here that don't have the support system that
True.
I have.
That's true.
And it's frustrating to watch and see that struggle, and it's also comforting to bring them in and be like, look, like this is a safe place.
Yeah.
Because you don't have all of that crap happening out there with all of the awful things that are happening in the world. So
That's true. So I personally am curious, and I'm sure most people are curious, when you're having the foot parties and you are having like your feet worship, like you worship, what do you wear?
that's a good question because I wasn't really for sure either. The first party, I thought you had to be very careful about what you were wearing, but you just have to have everything covered.
Of course.
And so I wore a very vanilla outfit.
Nice.
And it felt kind of out of place, actually.
Turtleneck.
Well, it was actually, I think I had this shirt on and then I had just some slacks. I had no idea what I was doing. And I watched all of these beautiful ladies just waltz across the room, just oozing sex and people just worshiping them while they're wearing just their regular clothes. Like in here, I felt like such a fish out of water wearing my vanilla clothes. Like,
Yeah.
I wasn't floating. I wasn't doing any of those things. I felt so out of place, but they made me feel comfortable as time went on. I love doing it. I love the people that I meet, the things that I do, the things I learn. I really like the things that I learn. I think it's interesting what people are so creative in ways to find their own pleasure.
That is true.
You have to really know yourself and really test yourself in order to be able to do some of these things. And it's fascinating to me as someone who I am 45 now. However, I had a very late start in life. Not so much with starting to have sex, like that was a normal at 17, almost 18, yeah. But my first orgasm came quite a bit later in life.
You have to be comfortable and know yourself.
That, and you have to be with partners that know, something. That's amazing. I finally feel like at 45, I'm where I need to be and around the people I need to be around. The energy that surrounds me is magnetic. I feel very blessed.
It's so much fun being around you. You are one of the easiest people I have ever met to just talk to, hang out with. So, like, knowing that you're dealing with a clientele, with a fan club, so to say, of people who are usually very subdued and quiet about what they really want, like knowing you, it's perfect,
The crazy thing is I'm awful at small talk. I am getting over that, and I used to be so nervous with going in because it's an awkward situation, like whenever you're first there and you're walking around and you're trying to look beautiful and do I look okay while you're all in your head going, do I look okay, like this is my first thing ever, and it's like I have no idea what I'm doing. I just want someone to pay attention to me, but other people are around, they're doing their own thing, like the guys are waiting for you to come and talk to them, and I'm waiting for them to come and talk to me because like I said, it was my first party. So I've gotten better, but that first party was brutal. Man, it was brutal. It's a fun environment, but I need to get better at learning to sell myself.
Oh, wait, what?
I know that sounded awful.
You need to be a better
I need to put myself out there more, instead of just come to me. Yeah. So, but it's hard getting out of your comfort zone, right? I'm learning that the more uncomfortable you are, the more you're growing, I guess.
Yes, I don't think I've ever been comfortable a day in my life, and I'm good with that, Like later we'll talk about my life and, you know, my family, etc. But I'm from a family of predominantly women and there is no privacy.
Yeah.
You
I remember
know,
you said that.
oh my God, there's no privacy. They are all in your business. What were you doing before this? Because I'm sure you haven't always been a foot model.
No.
You should have
No.
always been a model. I mean, look at you.
Why,
But
thank you.
what was your profession before
I
this?
didn't really have. I worked in molecular pathology for
Wow,
a
wait, what?
couple years before. And then prior to that, I worked at a police department as a 911 and police dispatcher.
That's awesome.
And prior to that, I worked at a hospital. And then I was a stay-at-home mom until my daughter was 12. I moved here to Texas from the Midwest and I had to get a job.
Wow.
And prior to that, I owned a trucking company, but truthfully,
That's amazing.
I didn't do a whole lot with it. I can't even pretend like.
Yeah, but still, like it just shows that you have the courage and the confidence, and I really admire that.
Oh, thank you.
Welcome. Like you and your personality and what you're doing. Are you a small town girl or a big city girl?
I am. I grew up in the Midwest.
I love it.
600 people.
Really?
In my hometown. Yes.
I love it.
Tiny, tiny. I think there was like 15 people in my class.
You beat me. If I would have stayed in the small town that I grew up in, I would have made 30 in the graduating class.
Ooh.
You actually beat me.
Yeah, I don't think we ever had a class of 30. Like, I think the grade above me had like 22, I think, and that was big.
Ooh, that's a huge class. So being from a small town and living in a small town like your entire life, was it in your entire life or?
Pretty much. I mean, I was back and forth. I raised my kids in the town 2 towns over.
Oh, that's cute.
So
you were like born and raised in one town and then you just went 2 towns over.
Mhm.
That's awesome.
yeah,
I love it.
not very worldly.
No, that's awesome though. Like I love that. I love that because like I have to say all the traveling I've done and being away from the small towns, I always check in with my small town friends. Like,
Yeah.
where are you? What have you done?
I
Like,
haven't really kept a lot of contact with
No?
them. No, I have one friend. I don't know if she wants me to mention her name, so
you
I
don't
won't.
have to.
But
You don't have to.
I mean, I love her and I do keep contact with her,
Yeah.
but very rarely. I don't really like phones. And so
I
I
know.
don't keep contact with people.
I know.
Yes, right? Like I know it's a struggle.
Seriously though, you do like always text me back.
Yeah, like I will text people back or call them back eventually. For the most part,
Yeah.
it's like, well, they just get buried, and then I'm not even going back to them. So,
Yeah.
but
Living in that small town, and that was your life, and that was your experience for
Mhm.
so many years. Did you know about any kind of fetish community?
No.
Okay.
No. I was so sheltered, like my whole life. Just there was this whole other world out there, and I had no idea I was that good little robot doing exactly what
Yes.
I was supposed to do.
Yes.
And it's so crazy to think that I was that person then. Like I don't even know that girl anymore. Like
yeah.
I never thought I would be an advocate to move away from the town you grew up in, like, because I was that person, never leave, like,
Yeah.
oh, always be around my family, like,
Yes.
oh, I don't want to go on vacations because I just want to be around my family.
That's so sweet.
Like that was my whole world, like that town, like, and we all grew up in that little town, and it
Yeah.
was great. It served its purpose, and it's still a great town, like,
Oh, completely.
yeah, but
You know the expression like one stoplight town? Yeah, that was
we
it.
didn't even have a stoplight.
You didn't even have a stoplight.
No.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
No stoplights, no police officer.
Wow. Yeah, I primarily was back and forth, but primarily in small towns. But I went back and forth a lot. Big city, small town, big city, small town. And it was so funny going back to the small town because all the boys were like, "Oh, you're a big city girl. Tell me all about it." I'm like, "No, I'm one of you. What are you talking about?" I'm like, "That was just an adventure for like a year." But it was quite a culture shock going from a city where you know everybody and everybody knows you, and the dating pool is really small. So if you're smart, you date from another town. And I don't know about you, I was pretty nerdy, so I hardly dated. I just like hung out with my grandparents. But I love my grandparents. They're awesome. We'd go to football games.
No,
Anyway.
I know, but like back then, you're supposed to be cool, right?
I know. I was never cool. My cousin was cool, and she would drag me
Me
out.
neither. So what age did you leave your small hometown?
Well, I was always going back and forth my entire life. And so I think I finally left there when I was 16, and I moved to the big city, and I was like, you know what?
The big city being
Dallas.
okay.
Yeah. So I am from Cowtown, like outside of Fort Worth. Like Fort Worth, for a lot of people, they're like, "Oh, that's a small town." I'm like, no. That's like, hustling and bustling city. I was from a cow town where it was like quarter horses and, ranches, and it was a whole different life. And I moved to Dallas. I told my grandma, I'm like, Grandma, I think it's time to go. And she was like traditional German grandmother. She's like, "Okay, love you, bye." Good luck. Gave me a kiss,
Send you on your way.
Yeah. She's like, "It's your time, fly, go." And so in the beginning, it was very much like still sheltered, but eager, very eager to know what was out there. It was a whole new world. Like seriously, you didn't think it was going to be so different, but it was a whole new world. Music and your friends and the diversity. And I'll be honest, like where I went to school, there was not a lot of diversity.
Same.
Yeah. But nobody was really one way or the other. It was just like, this is who you are and this is what you have. And if you live there, you were all the same. There was no difference. So that I enjoyed, that I liked. But then moving to a big city, it was just like, it wasn't as much culture shock as it was like, oh my God, I want to know everything. I want to know everything about everybody. And I had friends from, all of a sudden I had friends from like all over the world.
Yeah.
And it was so much fun.
You make friends very easily.
I think it's the curiosity.
Possibly.
And, yeah. Or the ignorance. I don't know. I don't know when to shut up.
I doubt that.
Well, it was a lot of fun. And so it was like going from the small town where it was like, you're going to marry this person or you're going to marry this person. And, being a woman, like
you knew what your life was going to be like.
Yeah. Nobody really expected you to have a career, but I always like aspired to do something great. My mother had a stroke when I was 6 years old. She was only 25 years old, and it was from taking birth control pills and smoking cigarettes. And she happened to be that like 1% that had an allergic reaction and had a stroke, and not a mild stroke where some people are like, oh, I can't even tell, or, they recovered quickly. I've seen 70-year-olds have strokes and come out better than what she did. Like this was a major, she's still to this day, thank God, alive. Like
it took a bit of her mobility, but didn't take any of her sass.
Oh my gosh, she's so sassy and funny, and her humor and her wit. And growing up with her and like living the life that we did. And a lot of times we lived way out in the country because we didn't have a choice, because I don't know how she did it, but my mom raised us, and I say us because she was only 25. So, she still had a lot of growing to do too. So she raised us on $300 a month. How?
That is crazy.
I've been to dinners that cost more than that. And like, she made sure we had a place to live. We had food. I had all the love you could imagine.
Yeah.
and anytime she had money, I had whatever I needed. And so my clothes were hand-me-downs, whatever. It doesn't matter,
I think we
because
all wore hand-me-down clothes.
yeah, and she was so much fun. It was just like that. None of that stuff ever mattered. It was just like
Mm-hmm.
so great being with her. But I took on the role of the caretaker
Early
and
on, yeah.
being responsible. And I'll be honest, I'm sure I don't remember a lot, but from what I remember and what I've been told, I was a spoiled little shit. So my mom did everything for me and anything in her power. And I have to tell you, like, after her stroke, she would still, like, okay, so she was completely paralyzed on the right side, but gained enough mobility to be able to walk, and she could never use her right arm again. But she would wake me up in the morning with homemade oatmeal. Like, when I say oatmeal made just like decadent, she would add the best ingredients. It was so good. Like, you can't buy oatmeal this good. And she would bring it to me, and I was such a brat. I'm like, I don't want to wake up. And she would bring me the food, and she was just so sweet. I'm like, all right, fine, I'll get up. But it just taught me like a sense of like purpose, and I have to do more, and I have
Yeah.
to be more. And it doesn't matter what anybody thinks, or whatever they say. Like, you can't tell me I can't do something, because I don't care what you think. If I think I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And I always thought that I would be the one taking care of her, because my parents split up when I was 3. They were young. They had met when they were 13,
Yeah.
married by the time they were
Dang.
18. This is how it was. Thinking that I was going to be the one taking care of her for the rest of my life and her life, I knew that I had to do everything I could to make the most of my life and provide for the both of us. And I never thought I'd have children, because she was my primary
Yeah.
responsibility. So,
Boy, were you wrong.
I know.
Man,
Yeah.
all of that on your shoulders at such a young age.
Yeah.
That explains a lot about you, though, because you do have a crazy drive.
Thank you.
And that's definitely a good thing. And you're always covering your bases and on point.
Thank you. I try. And it's like it's one of those things where you see that and you know that, but there have been several times where people don't really know or see what I have going on or what my life is.
Yeah.
And that doesn't matter to me, because they don't see all the stuff I'm doing, taking care of my family, doing what I need to do.
Yeah.
Fortunately, my stepfather came into our life, and he's amazing. And he,
You
taught
always
me
speak
humor.
very highly of
Yeah,
him.
he's amazing. He's hilarious and a hard worker and no nonsense. And, but he's so humble and down to earth. And so he really taught me a lot about just being a good person. And that's him. Just always be a good person. So where I was always like striving to take care of us, my mother and I, he was just be a good person. That's all you have to do. Just relax and be a good person. So taught me a lot. Always thought I wanted to be an orthodontist. I have a passion for physics, and I loved kids, and I loved seeing the progress, and I loved seeing the results of what I was doing. And I love the money, because I worked in the front office and I saw how much the doctor was bringing in. I'm like, wait a minute, you're making how much per kid? And you have 13 chairs, so that's like 13 kids, and we're talking about basic $150 per kid, so that's like 13 chairs an hour. I'm like, I want to do this. This is what I want to be. Well, turns out that's really hard.
You don't say.
And it's like, where I grasped a lot of it, there was like this whole other area where I'm like,
It
damn.
doesn't seem as fun anymore. This is great, right?
Well, it's still like you have to deal with blood at some point. Just like, I'm gonna pass out. I'm like, I can't do it. That's beyond me. But thank you. So I had to figure out like other things I wanted to do. So I worked as an orthodontic assistant for many years, and I loved it. I say many years. I think I did it from 19 to 24, so old at 24. I worked for the orthodontist and I dated a chiropractor. I was 20 and he was 26. Old man, by the way, old man. So old. And so we dated and he was very polite and very kind. And I was the girl, like every button was all the way up to the top. And one day he said, you're beautiful. I was like, oh, thank you. And he's like, no, seriously, you are beautiful. He's like, I think you should get a job at Hooters. And I said, do you think
Clutch my pearls?
Yes. I'm like, do you think I'm a whore? That's exactly what I said. I
get it.
Small town, naive, conservative. And he was like, no, not at all. I just think you're beautiful and I think that you would fit in well here. And so one day he said, okay, I'm going to take you to dinner. I was like, okay, great. And I'm thinking we're just going to like some nice restaurant. And he takes me to Hooters. And we pull up. I'm like, I can't go in there. And he's like, why? I'm like, no, I cannot go in there. And he was like, why? I'm like, I'm not that kind of girl. I can't. And he said, no, you'll be fine. Go with me. And he's like, just hold my hand. I'll walk you around. The entire time I was like this. And I wouldn't look up and I wouldn't look at anybody. And I followed him around the whole
looking
place.
Down, just for those of you that are not
Yes.
able to see a visual. She's just looking down.
I was
at her
hiding my face and I didn't want to see anything around me. And he walked me around the whole place. And he was like, what do you think? I'm like, I don't know. I'm not going to look. I want to go. And then I think it was about 4 months later, I'm working with this woman and her daughter was my age. And I'm working at the orthodontist office and her daughter comes in and we were friends at this point. Like I became friends with her daughter and she said, come with me. I want to go apply at Hooters. I'm like, no. She's like, come on, go with me. I'm like, no, I have to work. I can't go. And I'm trying to play cool. I'm like, I can't go. I have to work. She's like, come on, go with me. I'm like, I can't. She goes, all right, I'll ask my mom if you can go. I'm like, God damn it. All right. And she's like, all right, come with me. And so here I am with my clothes, like, buttoned all the way at the top. She goes, no, you can't wear that. I'm like, yeah, I am. And she's like, no, you have to change. What do you have? And so I had this like sexy outfit that I didn't really wear, but I was trying to gain confidence. Oh, back then in the early 90s, they were called Daisy Dukes.
Ooh.
So I put on my country girl Daisy Dukes with my flannel shirt that tied and my little shorts that had the little plaid
Ellie
ruffles.
Mae.
Oh, yeah. And I thought I was just really whoring it up. And so we went to Hooters and I got hired and she didn't. She didn't get hired because of her school schedule. She's like, I can work this day 2 to 3 and I can work this day, 1 to 4. And they're like, no, we can't.
Not gonna work.
At 24 that I had to start my own business because how was I going to keep working for somebody? I'm so old. And so I started a business. Like I had a valet business, parking cars at a popular bar. I was dating a pilot. He was my same age. Neither of us made any money. And so I would wait tables at this bar. And then the owner's talking to him. He's like, well, we need a valet service. So I started a valet service. And I did that for a little bit, but the parking was abundant. So they didn't really need me. So I just had like nice people that would come and valet with me. But let me tell you, I can park a car. Okay. I got that.
I have no doubt. I don't think that there's anything that you can't do.
Thank you. So I did that for a while. And then there was a woman who did circuit bikini contests. And that was so long ago. It was so different. Like literally, you could look like this and step out there in a bikini and have the right personality. And if you were a finalist, you made money. So it was like an hour out of my day. I was covered except for a basic bikini, which somebody's going to see that at a swimming pool.
And if you would see her standing up, you would see why they would pick her. So
Thank you.
And you
so
won
much.
that?
Oh, I was always first or third. And
surprise.
Well, I don't. Like, I don't think it really had anything to do with like much more than I was always there. I was polite to people from the second I walked through the door, and I have a big butt. So,
Yes.
I mean, turns out that might be the key ingredient. I don't know. So,
seems to be a good combination
yeah,
of
it worked out.
yes.
So from there, I started a company where I had about 8 college girls that work for me, and one girl is my cousin. So of course that gives me my backbone. Like, always, if anybody else goes away, it's the two of us.
Yes.
So she came to work with me, and we managed about 8 girls, and it was a very simple, very, very simple process of a promotional company where you go in at lunchtime and happy hour. And you can't do that these days because college girls don't want to be seen, and they don't want their pictures taken and posted everywhere if they're not monetizing from that. And back then it was just all like a free for all. There was none of this. And so if somebody did get a picture of you, it wasn't going anywhere. But once it started, like the second it started where everybody had camera phones and your image could be out there, it all stopped. So I had a good like 5 or 6 years where I employed these young women. They would simply model lingerie, and honestly they had to have a bra and 2 pair of pantyhose underneath, like completely covered underneath, and they could wear the lingerie over it, and they had a garter so they could accept gifts and or tips, I should say. And so they would walk around like 2 seconds at each person. Hey, if you like this outfit, you can buy it. Hey, if you like this outfit, you can buy it, and you can tip me if you would like. And literally half the time these guys are just like, oh, thank you, honey. And they would just like, not even look and just give them money. And it was great because they could pay for their school, they could pay for their life, and still
How did you even
concentrate.
come up with this idea? Like,
I saw similar things happening, and so I wanted to perfect the idea. And this is information that most people don't know. Like, I don't really tell this story very often. I think that just a few friends know. But it was like, that was the hustle. That was the hustle then. I'm like, if I can do bikini contests, and if they're doing bikini contests, then what's the difference in that and this? Like, I feel like they were covered more because they had the 2 pair of pantyhose on, plus the
that's
bra.
just smart. Like, for you to think of that.
Well, these young women were smart, and so they could go in and like speak to people and have intelligent conversation, and you're just like literally talking to somebody for like 2 seconds, and they were making their tips. And I would have like, one girl could make $600 in a day because she was just so witty and smart and pretty, and she could literally come out in a dress not showing anything, and just like, it was all about the interaction and being nice for just 2 seconds. And she had like businessmen that would come and meet her wherever she was, and they wanted her to do well. And people think like, oh, only strippers make money, or you have to live this lifestyle to do this. But no, it's like being a good person in the right situation and living your life and telling people like, hey, I'm a student, I'm going to school, I'm trying to pay for this. Like, they were in a position where people helped them and they didn't expect anything.
I feel like that's a borderline sugar daddy.
You would think so. And I asked,
well,
this
I mean,
one
you
girl,
don't have to do some sugar daddies. You don't have to do anything for, like, it's just someone who wants to give you money and support you, right?
See, I don't know enough about that world. Maybe I should have.
Maybe I could be wrong. I think that is what that kind of sounds like to me. That's what I would classify it as.
That's what it sounds like. But, and so like, one of the girls, she was very engaging, like you, like very easy to talk to, very engaging, always had really good stories. And so I asked her, I said, do they expect anything of you? Do they want anything of you? She's like, no, not at all. She said, they have girls for that. I was like, oh, okay. I don't want to know any more about that. But, they just wanted her to do well. And they appreciated the fact that she was an intelligent young woman who was continuing education, going to school, following her dreams. And they simply just wanted to help. And she did fantastic. She
Well,
did
and you have
great.
people like the sponsor.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess it's kind of the same.
I made a lot less money because I was the person behind the scenes, but that's okay. I was like, I didn't need that much. My goal was to pay my bills and have a savings, help my cousin like get out of the small town and grow and learn and have a decent life. And I felt good knowing that these young women were able to pay for their school and not really sacrifice themselves doing anything they didn't want to do.
Yeah.
And so that was great. But doing that, I had my own business with the lingerie, and then we did primarily lingerie sales. So I'd have to say my first successful business was at 24 selling lingerie, like legit just selling lingerie. And it was very profitable because back then you could sell it from 30 to 40 to $50, and you would sell multiple items at a time. And it was just like, it was like home parties, but lingerie. And that was fantastic. And I met my daughter's dad, who was my husband. Like, we eventually got married, but when we met, that was my business. I was doing very well. And he had his own business with his family doing underground utilities. So we both were starting our businesses at the same time. And I was still very shy. And he would tell me, you have to give out your business card everywhere we go. I'm like, no, I don't want anybody to know what I'm doing. He's like, no, but you have to, or they're not gonna be able to buy your products if they don't know what you're doing. Yeah. So every time he would try to help me promote, I'm like, no, I don't want anybody to know. He's like, but they have to know. So
that's kind of the point.
That's the point. So I was selling lingerie and doing well, and then like one of my close friends said, I can't buy this from you because I can buy it at Walmart for $15. And I was like, you can't buy this at Walmart. She goes,
fighting words.
She said, I can buy something close enough at Walmart. And I was like, but it won't be this nice. She goes, it's nice enough. And sure enough, we went to the store and there it was. I'm like, $15. I pay more than that, for these items, for this, what I considered nice lingerie, like until Walmart started selling lingerie. And then I had to get further out of my comfort zone. And I'd heard of this company doing home parties, selling sex toys. Well, my cousin is much more fearless and outgoing than I am.
Is this the same cousin that
went into the lingerie business with me
earlier?
Yeah. So same cousin. And she was like, her expression for everything is like, F it, let's do it.
Yes.
And, like you eventually have to pull it together. I'm like, you're right. If we're not going to do it, it's not going to happen. And I said, all right, let's start doing research. I'm going to figure out how to buy these products. So I went to my first like adult store and I walked in there totally just clenched, holding everything together because I didn't want to touch anything and I didn't want anything to touch me. And I like squeezed in there quietly and I'm walking around like this. And it was all like magazines and videos and the viewing rooms. And I had tunnel vision because I was so nervous. So I'm like inching my way around, trying not to touch anything and not to be seen. And I find the section of adult toys, which was one wall, about 3 feet long. And I'm standing there like this. And I'm like, okay, I have to do my research. And so I'm looking everywhere and I'm turning over packages and I'm trying to figure out like, where do they get these things? It's got to say it on the package. And I'm looking and then somebody rubs up behind me and I'm like, oh, I'm out of here. And so I left not finding out anything. I just like looked up the information and called the company and I got a rep and we would laugh and giggle and stumble our way through it. And I started buying these products, had no clue what I was doing. Neither did he. This was all new. So like I started buying products and, you know, word of mouth, start hosting parties and just, you know, made it from there. And it was exciting and the
It
business
is just
was good.
insane to me that you would be like, oh, you know what? Okay, I'm just gonna do this. Let me just start this.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
How that doesn't even
Right? I know. That's drive and ambition, but mostly desperation to not ever be in the same position I was as a child.
Man, and you are you're a scrapper. We talk about that, and it's like, boy, she's gonna get it done. She's gonna do it, and she's going to figure it out.
Oh yeah.
We have a couple friends like you. Man, that's a great story. I love that.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I did that until I was married. I had my daughter. I had the home party business. It was popular and it was a lot of word of mouth, friend to friend. And then it came a time like the marriage didn't work out. I had to change. I had to make a change. And so I sent my resume. I couldn't. Okay, so first of all, I tried to keep a job in Texas. And I wanted a job in sales working for a big company, but nobody would hire me. I'm a woman. Are you a receptionist? How many words a minute can you type? Like, what can you do? How are you on the phones? And every time I'm like, well, what does it pay? What does it pay? And when I worked for the orthodontist, like I had reached the level where I met the ceiling, and I had worked for one of the best doctors in town. Like still to this day, I think he's the most amazing man I've ever met. He was like kind and intelligent and innovative and just always on it, you know? And so being around somebody like that, it just like it makes you want to be fearless.
Better.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was like, if he can do it, I can do it.
Yep.
Just different. So I sent my resume to this big company. And after not being able to find a job in Texas doing sales anywhere, and I wasn't going to be a receptionist, I got hired in less than a week. And he flew me out to California and I interviewed and I got the job. And then things just took off from there and just never stopped. Just kept going.
Every day we hustle and
yeah. And so that's the beginning of my story.
Man, and so many other stories.
I know.
Moving forward. That's interesting. That does explain a lot about you.
Thank you.
So,
well, this has been a lot of fun. I cannot wait to have our first guest.
Oh,
I'm so excited.
Me too.
So, well, thank you for today. And thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone, for listening. And go ahead and subscribe to whatever he is putting in the link below.
Subscribe, follow.
Subscribe, follow, do all the things so you don't lose us.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.